All right, now it's time for us to learn to draw some more complex paths. And we're going to learn a few keyboard shortcuts as well because we need to figure out how to convert a curve path to a corner point and how to split direction lines. So let's start by zooming in a little bit, and I'll use the spacebar to temporarily access the hand tool so that we can draw this first complex path. I'll tap the P key to select the pen tool, and I want to make sure that I don't have any paths selected on the Paths panel. Then I'll click on the first black square there to set down my first anchor point, and then I'll click again on the second square. Now, in order to add a point, I will click on that gray square in order to add it. But if you recall, we can't just drag because if I click on that point, it's actually going to delete the point at this time. So what I'll do is I'll hold down the Command key that temporarily accesses the Direct Selection tool, and then I can reposition that anchor point. Now, what if I wanted to make this into a corner point? Well, if I hold down the Option key, you can see that my cursor changes when I position it on top of the anchor point. And if I click, it will convert it into a corner point. If I want to convert it back to a curved point, I can click again holding the Option key and drag out to the right in order to create the curve. Or if I drag out to the left, I actually get a loop. So I just want to Option drag to the right there to drag back out that curved point. All right, to end that path, I'll hold down the Command key and just click, and then hold down the space bar and scoot over to the next path. So here we have a combination of straight lines and curved lines. So we'll start by just clicking on the anchor point there at the end. Then I'll click again in order to create that straight line segment. But now I need to quickly move from a straight line to a curved line. So I will click on the anchor point again and start dragging up in order to drag out a direction line. And you can see I only get one this time, the one that I'm dragging up. There's no direction line going in the other direction. And that's because I'm switching from a straight line to a curved line. All right, I'll release the cursor. And now I'm going to click and drag down to create my curve. I'll hold down the Shift key just to make sure I get that vertical line, and then release the cursor. But now I need to break this curve, right? If I clicked right now, I'm going to get a curve that looks like this. I'm going to undo that, and instead, I'm going to hold down the Option key. You can see I get the little convert point icon there at the base of my pen tool, and I'm going to click once, and that bottom direction line goes away so that now I can finish this line by just clicking on that last anchor point. Excellent. I'll hold down the Command key and click away in order to end that path. And then I'll use the space bar to reposition the image, and we'll draw this last path of the heart. In this case, I want to put it on its own layer, so let's just double click the work path and name that path 4, click off of it in order to start a new path. So in this case, when I click on this first icon, I'm going to click and drag up, right, to set the direction line for this initial curve. So click and drag up, and then I'll release the cursor. But if I click and drag down, that's not exactly the shape of the curve I want, so let's just add a little bit of an angle to that. However, if I click on this next line, I'm not going to get the type of curve I want. So let's undo that. And just like before, I need to split this. I need to change the direction. So if I hold down the Option key, that's going to get rid of this portion of the direction line. And I've clicked my mouse and I'm holding the mouse down, and I'm just going to drag up in the other direction because that's going to set this direction line to start this curve going up. So that when I click on this anchor point here, then I get that heart-shaped curve. From here, all I need to do, because I want this to continue around, I don't need to change this from a curve point to a corner point, I'll just click on this black square and then click once again in order to close that path. So while you can always switch back and forth between the pen tool and the Path Select tool and the Direct Select tool to select different anchor points, or you could switch from the pen tool to the Convert Point tool, I find that knowing that the Option key will give me the Convert Point tool and the Command key will automatically give me one of the selection tools, it's much more efficient to use those shortcuts while drawing paths in Photoshop.